Welcome to Spooky News from Spooky Ventures for November 15th, 2019. As always, we got quite a bit to get to, so let's get on with it. Just a reminder, Spooky News and everything Spooky Ventures is supposed to be an interactive experience. So be sure to subscribe to our channel. I think you got to do a two-step thing to actually get the notifications, because YouTube's weird. Um, But in any event, give a subscribe, like our videos, share our videos, comment on our videos. Let us know if you got something you'd like to contribute. We're always happy to include more video content, either whether it's just for our channel itself, as in we upload the video, or whether it's something that goes on our playlist. If you got something of yours you think fits there, let us know. We'll add it. Thanks. Fans of Nirvana who didn't get a chance to communicate with Kurt Cobain just might want to consider buying his old house, if you have the money to do so. Apparently, they're having a lot of trouble selling it because the stories are that his ghost haunts the place. So I suppose if you moved in, you could find a way to communicate with Kurt Cobain. Um, there's a whole article about the haunting, or the alleged haunting anyway. I'll share that link. You can have a look around, but see what you think, and maybe you want to see about getting to Kurt's old house and getting a little of that teen spirit from beyond the grave. Is Grave Danger the new band you should hear about and get to know? Well, they've got a 5-song EP that was released on Halloween called Tomb It May Concern, and they describe their music as Skath, which is a cross between ska and goth, and all their songs have spooky lyrics to them, at least the 5 on the EP. So maybe you ought to give Grave Danger a listen and see what you think of their music. You might find something new to love. We released some new Cafe Press merchandise for Spooky Ventures this week. It's the theme this time around, or this month anyway. The theme this month is Aliens of November, and so there are 4 designs with all kinds of apparel, drinkware, bags, phone cases, all kinds of things you can check out and purchase. So have a look at the Cafe Press store. I'll include the link, but it's cafepress.com// Spooky Ventures. Doctor Sleep was released last Friday, and as I'm sure you know, that's a sequel to The Shining, um, and also sort of a bridge between the book version of The Shining and the movie version, and while also serving as a film interpretation of the book sequel, which is called Doctor Sleep. In any event, I've always tended to prefer the book The Shining over the movie. I know everybody's crazy about Jack Nicholson's performance and all that, but to me, some of the changes they made weren't that great of changes, and I just wasn't completely happy with the way the movie went. I always much preferred the TV miniseries, and I recently watched that again, and I still prefer that to the movie of The Shining. But in any event, Collider has an interesting article that just came out, and it talks about it outlines all the differences between the Shining film and the Shining movie. So it's a kind of a good way to get you caught up and ready for Doctor Sleep if you haven't gone out and seen it already. So have a look at that article. We haven't done a lot of coverage of games recently, but Alternative Press has a cool article about 10 horror movie games that will make you scream. A couple entries from the Resident Evil series, so at least one from Silent Hill. You've got Slender. I'm not going to give you the whole list. You need to really check it out. But if you're looking for a game to discover that you haven't already, or perhaps you're looking to revisit something that you've forgotten about, this is a good list to give you an idea where you can find some good horror games. It's a safe bet a lot of people know R.L. Stine for Goosebumps, but apparently that's not his only horror anthology stuff he's done. He also did something called uh, Point Horror, and Point Horror is being developed by HBO Max in cooperation with R.L. Stine as a new anthology series. Now, like Goosebumps, I think it's meant for a younger audience, but doesn't mean it can't be fun for audiences of all ages, and it's certainly going to be spooky, so that's a good thing. There's a brand new trailer out for the new movie of The Invisible Man. You might know the old Claude Rains classic. Don't expect this to be the same movie. It's a lot more modern, and it's a completely different story in a lot of ways. Perhaps they would have been better off giving it a different title. But I've seen the trailer, and it looks really good. I mean, it's from Blumhouse. You really kind of can't go wrong with Blumhouse. Well, I suppose it all depends on your opinion of their other movies. Personally, I think for new horror out there, just for the fun stuff, they're going out there and just slaying it. Pardon the pun. Perfect for horror films, right? But don't be too tied to the original material. And I would also say the original movie was an interpretation, albeit a more literal and closer interpretation, more faithful interpretation of the H.G. Wells book. One could say that this also draws from that same material rather than being a remake of the film. And it just takes a lot more liberties with it, brings it a lot more up to date, and, brings some other dynamics into it. Who's to argue with which one's better? It's certainly a film for its time, at least from the looks of the trailer, so I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Have you seen Shazam? I'm talking about the recent movie, not the old TV series. Personally, I haven't seen it, although the trailer looked really good. I just haven't gotten around to seeing it yet. But the director of the movie, David F. Sandberg, is going to be adapting a horror graphic novel called The Unsound into a feature, uh, specifically for Netflix. So that should be interesting. I've heard he did a really good job with Shazam, so let's see what he does with some horror stuff. Hopefully, it'll be good stuff. If you've been watching these spooky news segments, you'll know I really like lists, and Cafe Mom has a new list of 15 true events that inspired horror movies. Everything from the Amityville Horror to uh, The Shining to Psycho, Poltergeist. There, Nightmare on Elm Street. There are a whole bunch of them. Obviously, 15 of them listed, and I'm not going to go down the whole list, but some of them you might know about. Psycho's Ed Gein thing is a pretty obvious one. Perhaps the story of Stephen King staying at the Stanley Hotel, inspiring The Shining, is another. But some of them you might not know so well, and you can have a look at the list and get some background on some movies you might like. So apparently Elijah Wood, the actor slash director, is really wanting to redo the old Nightmare on Elm Street series. So we'll see what happens with that. But apparently it's a big goal of his he's been talking about. We'll see how that goes. Have you ever been a fan of the old TV series Fantasy Island? I was always a fan of Ricardo Montalban, but no, not so much a fan of the TV series. But people sure loved it. Well, Blumhouse, who else would you expect to do this, is taking a twist on it and turning it into a horror movie. If you think about it, some of the concepts of the old series really weren't that far removed from horror. It just takes a slight little twist to turn it into horror potential. Um, the Ricardo Montalban role is being played by Michael Pena, who I'm a huge fan of his. He's just such a great actor and gets such great roles. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with this. There's a brand new trailer out, and I gotta tell you, it looks pretty good to me. So Keep your eyes open for Fantasy Island and hope you don't get to take the plane to the island. In terms of new horror movies opening this weekend, there's The Cleansing and The Shed. I really don't know anything about either movie, but hopefully it's cool stuff. And that's a wrap for this week's edition of Spooky News. Be sure and keep tuned to our YouTube channel, watch our Facebook page, and if you don't often go there, head on over to the main page at spookyventures.com. The events calendar itself is worthwhile. We've got lots of other cool stuff there. So be sure and stop by. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.